Well, there you go, guys. What do you think of the new show open? It's just, we're playing. Clearly, I forgot that I needed to actually put my ears in so I could hear what was happening before we went live. And I'm still getting them backwards. You know, I swear to God, these things are designed for people who live upside down. It's like so weird the way this whole thing works. There we go. Now my ears are in. So, hey, that was the new show open. I don't know how many actually got to see that who are not watching live. We got to figure out the timing here. But we had this whole thing with ads getting in the way of the first part of the show. And so we're playing with different formats of how we can avoid that being a problem. I actually don't even know if Ryan turned ads off or not for this show. So you might have seen an ad, you might have not. But anyway, so we got a little music thing, and eventually I'm going to animate that. That's a whole thing. We're playing with it. It's going to be fun. Good morning. If you're watching this for the first time, not live, scroll down. There's a link to jump to the beginning of the actual show. For the first few minutes, we're going to chit-chat because this is a live show and see what is going on in the live chat room, of which there are all kinds of people in here. People throwing parties in here. I missed a party. What's going on here? Parties going by. Oops, the party just scrolled off the screen, so I don't know what people are partying about. But good morning, everybody. I see lots of chit-chat, but no one calling me out yet, so that's a good thing, I suppose. Oh, there we go. Martin says, saw the adverts, never saw anything else. Okay, well, no worries. It should be on the show that got broadcasted. The whole point of this thing was to play while the advert plays so that you don't miss anything. But let me show it to you again, so you can just see what it is. So this is how it works. I go to a title screen that is totally silent. And yes, so nobody's getting, yeah, okay. I got a title screen that's totally silent, and then it goes through a thing and opens. So watch this. And then it fades in, the music fades out, I'm on the air talking, it turns my mic on at the right time. So that's what it would do, that's what it does. But that should happen ideally while you're watching the ad. So you watching live wouldn't see that animation necessarily, you've got the ad. But with any luck, by the time you've said skip this ad, it has faded to me and the show starts, you don't miss anything. So let me know how that works out timing-wise. For those of you, again, that are watching live, when you first got to see me, was I already talking with, I mean, obviously I was futzing with the ears, but anyway, I just want to know, did I compose that music? Charbex, please. If I compose music, it would sound like the music that I use for my live training, which is basically me and GarageBand going ding, 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 ding. Perfect, that sounds good. That's me composing. I don't do music. No, I licensed that from Audio Jungle. We went through a bunch, I must have listened to 200 idents last night and picked one. I don't know, tell me, it's, you know, nothing's set in stone. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Don't hate it. Tell me what you think. I'm super always curious what you guys think of that. Now the intro is a perfect starter for you. Excellent. Let's see here. You guys are all calling me out. Look at that, PhotoJoseph's all over the place. So of course, if you're watching live, you want to get my attention, just type in the @PhotoJoseph, that'll get my attention. Or if you feel like you learned something today, then you can always hit that little $sign button down there and throw a little coin in the tin to help out with the show. People talking about circular polarizing filters. What do you think of the music though? Do you like it? Let me know what you think. We are, see here, Fake Cube says, got some B&W circular polarizers based on your recommendation. Use your B&H affiliate link, thank you, which hopefully worked. Just got delivered a few minutes ago. Okay, so you haven't tried it yet. Let me know what you think. I really like mine. I think it's quite good. Sharbex says I should have a 1-minute countdown clock or something before the show starts so people have time to join the live stream before we start rambling. Well, that's why I ramble. Because the rambling, no one's really missing anything in the ramble before the actual show starts. And I thought about, and I probably will, put a clock. I could have a clock here that's like a 5-minute countdown, so I got 5 minutes of ramble, and then we're going to start on time every time. And I'm working on that. The only challenge, the only real problem, the only reason I don't have the countdown clock on right now is because technically it's annoying. It's tedious to get. When I used to do it all the time, it was playing through the iPad, which worked out well. I have a rendered out 10-minute countdown clock that sits up in the corner. I got the mask built and everything. But for some reason, when you play video off of the iPad, sometimes it goes full screen and sometimes it goes inset. It's in a 4:3 inset. It's really weird. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. And so if I hit play and it's wrong, then the video is not lined up with the mask. And so I have to unplug the iPad, plug it back in, wait for that to resync and hope that it works. And there's no guarantee that it's going to go one way or the other. So it's really annoying. I can't play video. The ATEM, bizarrely enough, doesn't play video files. the animation that you see that pops up down at the bottom here, well, I just triggered it, so it'll pop up in a moment. That is a frame stack, and I talked about that a little bit before. But it's not an actual video file. You have to take your video and export it as frame stack, and you have a limited number of frames. It can only store, I think, 720 frames of 1080p video. It's all really weird. So I can't do the clock through that way. I basically have to play the clock from an external video source, and the most convenient way to do that is through the iPad with short of buying another video player device. Anyway, it's a thing. I'll figure it out eventually, but that's just the issue with it now. Okay, hey, Sharbeck says the music is rad. I'll take rad. I like rad. Filmfrucht says, Filmfrucht, I like that, I have an issue with the Panasonic Dual IS firmware update schedule. You have an issue with the schedule? Your Panasonic features PowerOS like the Nocticron, for example. The Nocticron is updated for Dual IS. The 45 to 175 is not. Take it up with Panasonic. I have zero to do with that or influence on that, sorry. The music seemed to fit in with other music beds you have used for other things. Well, that's cool. The music is great due to it keeping it short. It is upbeat. It is a call to look over here, sets up the audience to expect something to happen next, flows well into an intro. Like, nice critique, Sheila. Thank you. That is awesome. Martin says, any plans to match the outro with similar music? Yeah, I am. That's the next stage. I spent half of yesterday figuring this thing out, so I do plan on doing an outro as well. That will, yes, we'll work on it. We're getting there. I also probably going to animate the outro. See, you know, once you start on this thing, there's like no, it's too much. It's fun though. It's fun. Okay, let's get this thing started, shall we? Let's do this show. Good morning and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first photo and especially today video live show on YouTube every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Join live if you can because it's lots and lots of fun. Hey, comments, by the way, are flying like crazy through the comment system, and it's gotten to the point where I cannot possibly keep up. Every once in a while I'll pull up my phone, there's always 99 plus new comments, and I scroll through and I try and grab the good ones, but if you're asking me something and you're not getting my attention, the comments are starting to get overwhelming. So the best way, one way you know you're going to get my attention is to be on here live and to at me or hit the super chat button. That is the one way you're guaranteed to get my attention. And I realize that doesn't work for everybody in every time zone. But if you've asked me something in the comments and I haven't responded, it's not that I don't love you. It's just that it's getting overwhelming. It's getting to a point where I cannot keep up anymore. So, which is great. That shows the growth of the channel. But I mean, I can imagine someone like, Casey or someone with 5 million, 6, 7, 8 million followers. I'm sure they don't even look at I mean, you just can't, right? I've seen their videos come up and within minutes, there's hundreds and hundreds of comments. You can't possibly. So, obviously, I'm nowhere near that. I've only got 5,000 followers, 5,500. 5,500 followers, and videos get a few thousand views, but even there, the comments are they're getting overwhelming. So anyway, just telling you, if you don't see a response, it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's not that I don't love you, it's just that there's just too much flying by, and I'm not able to catch them all. So apologies for that. Okay. Let's get this thing started. So today is about, this is a totally inside baseball type of a show. This is probably about as techie geeky as this show's ever going to get, because I do kind of want to appeal to a wider audience. But this was so cool, even though probably the only person that really is interested in it is the guy on Twitter, Jason Joseph, a photographer out of New York, who pointed it out, started the conversation. I looked into it and said, wow, you can really do this. And so I said, well, I got to do a whole show on it because it really is cool. We all know about VFR, variable frame rate recording. You have it in the GH5, you had it in the GH4, you have it in a variety of the Lumix cameras, and obviously non-Lumix cameras as well. Variable frame rate is not unique here. The idea behind variable frame rate is that it's slow motion, essentially. You're capturing at whatever frame rate you've set, whether it's 24 frame, 30 frame, or 60 frame per second, and that can be 24 pure or 2398, 5994, all the variants, doesn't matter. Each one of those has an option to enable VFR, VFR being variable frame rate. When you enable VFR, variable frame rate, you can start recording in slow motion. You can actually also record in fast motion, which is kind of funky, but anyway, slow motion is what most people use it for. One of the hallmark things, or two of the hallmark things about the GH5 is that you can do 4K and 60p, and you can do 1080p in 180 frames per second, which is kind of insane. So you do lose audio. That's one thing, just pointing that out. What I'm going to show you today, you are going to be recording without audio. So if you need your audio, you have to record it externally. So which just even throws out even farther, this is a totally big rig type of a setup. And it requires both of these things. So it's definitely not something everybody's going to do, but it's still cool. So normally when you record, let's just say you're shooting a 30p show. Let's make it really simple. You're shooting a 30p show. You're going to be broadcasting in 4K 30p. So one of the options is to record in 60p so that you can easily slow it down to 60p. Even if you're outputting 30, you've got 60p on the timeline. You can easily slow it down 50%. You're not adding any frames. It's all beautiful and so on. But if we expand that out a little bit, let's say you go to 24p. You're shooting in 24p. That's what you're going to deliver. But you still want to have that 60 frame access. You still want to have that. The problem now is that you don't have a clean transition, right? If you're shooting variable frame rate at 60p with a 24p output, and you've got external audio, you're still, to take that 60, put it on a 24 timeline, it's not a perfect match. It's not like throwing away every other frame. So you don't have the same benefit if you're doing a 24 to a 60p transition. If you're shooting 1080p and now you want to go from 24 all the way up to 180, but you want to have the option to go back and forth at any time, you're really losing out. You really just don't have that option. So ideally, what you would do is be able to record simultaneously to two separate devices at the broadcast frame rate, whether that's 24p or 30p, and the VFR slow motion frame rate of 60 frames per second, 180 frames per second, whatever it would be. And that's what we can do. That's what we figured out we can do. So here's what's happening. Here's why this works. I'm going to explain the why behind it, and then we'll actually look at it and kind of prove that it works. When you're shooting in, let's do the extreme to make it easy to remember what's going on. 1080p, so HD, not 4K, HD. 1080p, we're shooting at 180 frames per second. Okay. The camera is capturing 180 frames per second internally, but it is outputting to the card, it's saving it in a 24 frame per second wrapper. That wrapper then says, okay, play this back at 24 frames per second, even though it was recorded at 180 frames per second, which means you get slow motion. However, what comes out of the HDMI cable doesn't have the wrapper. So what this device sees is the native 24 frame per second capture. Not the 180 frames, but just the 24. So this external device can record the 24, while the camera internally can record the 180 frames. You with me so far? It's a little weird. Let me just show you how you set it up. Actually, you don't have to do anything to set it up. You just plug it in and it works. That's kind of the cool thing. So today's wiring is a bit different. The camera is going into the Ninja. The Ninja is outputting to what you guys see. So when I switch to, get the right system here. Which one is it? Oh yeah. When I switch to the Ninja, where am I? Here we go. Now we're looking at what the Ninja is seeing. So this is what you guys would normally see. You're looking through my camera, but you're looking at what the Ninja is seeing. And just to see what the Ninja itself looks like, let's go to this camera that I have pointed on here. There's the Ninja. I should straighten that out a little bit better. Let's try and get that a little bit better on there. A little bit straighter. Not that it really matters, but you know, points for details, right? Okay. You can see up here, it says 4K UHD 2398. Can you see that up there? And there's other text that's kind of hiding on top of it as well, which is a little annoying. If I turn off the text off of the screen, it should get a little cleaner. There, it's a little bit cleaner in there. So you see now it says 4K UHD 2398. That's at the top. So this device is going to capture 24p, 23.98 frames per second. That's what that's going to capture. Meanwhile, this camera is set to something different. So now let's take a look at what this camera is saying. Let me turn the on-screen display back on, and let's take a look at that. So now we're looking at the camera. The camera is set to, right now, it's set to 4K 8-bit 24p. So that's the preset that I'm using. And you notice at the bottom it says VFR available, variable frame rate available. Okay, so that's there. And then I go into my variable frame rate setting and it's set on, and I go, what do I want to set it to? And I take it all the way up to the max of 60 frames per second. So that's the max that the camera can record at 4K is 60 frames per second. But in this case, it's going to put it into a 23.98 frame per second wrapper. So now when I look at the screen, look at the top left, you see it says 40%. This is recording with a 40% speed playback, right? If it was 30p to 60p, it'd be 50%. If it was 30p to 180, if we were doing the 1080p, then it would be, what is that, 17%, I think, something like that. Anyway, you would see the percentage on there that shows you what it is. So now the camera said, this is it. I don't have to do anything special. All I need to do is plug in an external recorder, set the camera to VFR, and the external recorder goes, I don't know what VFR is. I'm just going to take 24p or 30p or 60p, whatever the camera is set to, but the camera's recording internally. And so now I hit record on the camera, and I hit record on here, and simultaneously I get both of those files. That's really cool. It's, again, super inside baseball. Not many of you are going to use this, but for those that do, especially Mr. Jason Joseph, who isn't even watching live today. I mean, geez, Jason, what's going on here? I thought you were going to watch the show. This is pretty cool. This is really cool. So that's it. That's the show. It's so simple. Now you can set it up for the 1080 as well. If I do that, then the sync out doesn't work, so I'm not going to bother showing it. But it's the same thing. You can set it to any of those combinations, and you get it. So pretty cool, right? Excellent. That's it. All right, let's go back through the comments and see what's going on here, because I thought my name fly by a few times. Oh, let's see. Back to talk about the intro. I got to scroll up a little bit. Martin is asking Ryan, am I allowed to sleep? I must stay up for the comments. Hey, if I didn't have to sleep, I would. Stay up all night for comments. No, I'd probably do other things, but you know, I do need some sleep. Fake Cube says, if you want PhotoJoseph to see your comment, oh yeah, put the @ in front of it. Okay, Martin says, I'll come in sometimes and PhotoJoseph will already be here and tell me he was here until 2 in the morning. I don't believe he sleeps. Oh, that's Ryan talking. Yeah, I know, but it happens. What do you want? Got work to do, got a business to run. More gear, Fenwick, hey buddy. So yeah, more gear. Chris, do you think, is this useful? See, Chris Fenwick, he's working on the high end. He's in the chat right now. He's a buddy of mine. He's a professional editor down in the Bay Area, and he deals with clients who do all kinds of crazy stuff like this. So Fen, do you think that your clients will like this? I think this is a pretty cool thing. Boris is asking, have I checked frame by frame to see if it's not just interpolated frames? Yes, it is not interpolated frames. It is straight out. It is doing it right. It's crazy. It's crazy. In my limited testing with it and experience and looking at it, and yeah, I have looked at it frame by frame. It looks beautiful. So if I'm wrong, as always, tell me. You know, certainly not infallible. We all know that. But yeah, let me know if you find otherwise. But that is what it says it's doing. That's what it appears to be doing. That's what it's outputting. So I think it's pretty awesome. Alrighty, that's that. Bryce says, I enjoy filming extreme sports such as skateboarding, so this will be perfect. Thanks so much. There you go. Awesome. Always very helpful. Look forward to your videos. Well, thank you, Bryce. I look forward to you being here. Chris says, my attention to detail and analysis is amazing. Why, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Brent says, I wonder if my Atomos Shogun will support this. Yeah, because it's not that the external recorder records it, supports it. It's that it doesn't support the variable frame rate. So by default, you should be able to use anything. I mean, I should be able to use my cheap Blackmagic recorder here that just does 1080p to do this as well, in theory. It's just nice here because you get the display, it tells you exactly what it's seeing and so on. But yeah, the Shogun, I don't see any reason in the world it wouldn't do it, because as far as I know, none of the Atomos devices support that variable frame rate. As far as I know. I could be wrong, obviously. This is the only one that I own, but there you go. Let's see here. Cameraman is asking top 3 recommended lenses. Okay, let's come back to that in just a moment here. What do I want to do? I want to show you something else. It went to sleep, come on. Oh. There we go. Let's see here. What can I pimp out today? Oh yeah, hey, let's do this. You guys haven't, if you didn't see that, I showed this yesterday, and it turned out the podcast wasn't actually live when I showed it yet. Oops. But this is the new podcast, the new episode 3, Capture One Pro, for the Photo Apps podcast. This is now season 2 of the podcast. So if you are if you're the type who enjoys the podcast, check this out. It's our video podcast. This episode is an interview discussion with chaps from Capture One, from Phase, and it's like a 45-minute or so long discussion and look at Capture One Pro. We do have an audio-only version of the show on iTunes, as well as the video versions of both 1080p and 720p. Go to iTunes, search Photo Apps Podcast, or just search PhotoJoseph, and you'll find it there as well. Excellent. All right, let's see here. What else? Cameraman, top 3 recommended lenses for the GH5. You shooting stills, you shooting video, you shooting sports, you shooting vlogging. What are you shooting, man? You got to give me more information than that. Give me some more information and I'll give you some recommendations. Sharbex, does Shogun and Inferno have the option to record H.265 4K 60 at a smaller file size for same quality? I don't know. I haven't played with the Shogun Inferno. The Ninja Assassin only does ProRes or DNX HD, whatever that is. It doesn't do H.265 or H.264. I don't know if the new ones do. I really would not want anything recording H.265 right now, though, because as we have seen with the adventure of getting being able to use the 6K photo files that are produced by this camera, which are H.265, it's a pain in the tuchus. So I would not want to do anything that does H.265. That's me. You know, if you want it, then go to NAB and tell the folks at Atomos about it. Martin is shocked that Sully's not in the house. Sully, he messaged me on here, said something about it's busy season for him, so he's not going to be in as much, but he's here in spirit. Sheila says, have to use that for, oh yes, there we go. Cameraman, stills, real estate, action, and nature. Oh sure, just give me the full broad range of everything. Okay. Still, see, there's no 3 then. You need like 20 lenses. Still photography, my personal preference is always going to be to primes because they have faster apertures, hence shallower depth of field, and I love primes. I just do. Personally, I find that shooting primes forces you to be a little bit more creative. It's the whole zoom with your feet analogy. If you've got a zoom lens, you stand there and go, get a little closer, a little farther back, it'll take the picture. But if you have to physically go, oh, I should be closer, should be farther, you have to physically move. And as soon as your foot takes one step in front of the other, you have just engaged part of your brain that was previously turned off, and suddenly you're seeing things in different perspective. The 3-dimensionality of things has shifted because you have moved, and maybe, just maybe, you're going to go, actually, it's not just that I needed to move, I need to go over here as well. Personal rant on, not rant, but just personal opinion on using primes, one of the many good reasons. Favorite primes from Panasonic, the LUMIX primes are going to be the 15 f1.7. Love that lens. The 25-1.4 is a good lens, but it's not one of my favorites. If you want a standard kind of nifty-50 area lens, I am totally in love with that Chinese-made Zhongyi 25 millimeter, so 50 mil equivalent, f/0.95, but it's pure manual. There's no automatic on it at all. But if you don't mind manual focusing, I love that lens. It's got a different look to it. The bokeh's a little different. Lens flare is definitely a little different, but I adore it. I think it's a lot of fun. The Nocticron, of course, is always a winner. The Nocticron's a great lens. You want the Nocticron if you can afford it. It's a spendy lens, but man, that thing is gorgeous. If you're looking at zooms, your standard, if you're gonna buy a pair, the 12 to 35 and 35 to 100 is a really, really good range. If you're doing video, that is a brilliant range to have. If you can only buy one lens, the new 12 to 60 Leica is a very, very good choice. I'm loving it. Obviously, it's variable aperture, so it's not as fast at that 60 millimeter range as if you have the pair, the 12 to 35 and 35 to 100, but these are the choices you have to make. The newly announced, and yes, I can finally say it because it's actually official, the newly announced 8 to 18 is so cool. If you like that wide field of view, I think it's a really cool vlogging lens for those who want to do the close-up and personal vlogging thing. I don't actually know what the shipping date is. I'm sure that was announced, but I have no idea. But I've played with it minutely, like for minutes. For those of you who were following along since back when I was in Florida at the Luminary Summit in February? And I posted the mystery, what is this mystery lens? Yes, it was the 8 to 18. A lot of you guessed that actually, but I couldn't confirm or deny it. But yes, that was the 8 to 18. It's kind of cool. Any other lenses? Those are the ones that jump out at me. Obviously, there's macros if you need close-up work. There's 2 macros, about a 35 and a 45 mil macro. Both very nice if you need that sort of thing. Real estate, you mentioned real estate. The 7 to 14 is my go-to real estate lens, although now the new 8 to 18 would be that'd be worth looking at as well. So I would have to look at the two side by side. Obviously the 7's slightly wider, but I think the 8 to 18 has better aspherical correction, although I'm not totally sure. I haven't seen them side by side. So something to consider there if you're doing real estate. So there you go. Okay. And Trevor is saying the Leica 25-1.4 is your money lens. There you go. Beautiful Leica rendition. You didn't expect it to be this good. Well, that's awesome to hear. That is very good to hear. It's for whatever reason, it's not one of my favorites, but I'm glad that it's yours. Other recommend, Lawrence is saying the Olympus 25-1.2. I didn't know they did a 25-1.2. Cool. That's the beauty. You've got the options to use non-standard lenses, non-first-party lenses. So you got Sigma lenses, you've got Olympus lenses, you've got Chinese manufacturers, you've got all kinds of stuff. That's a really cool thing about it. Steve Holt says, zooming crops the frame, moving your feet changes the background. Well, there you go. That is true. Agree 100% about primes. My first 2 lenses were primes, and I prefer to shoot with them whenever possible. That's what Fake Cube says. There you go. I think it's really worth working with primes. I do. I really like. Trevor says this is a follow-up. I'm in several GH5 Facebook groups. Every other question is what's the best lens for the GH5. Ever consider doing an underrated Micro Four Thirds lens episodes for noobs? Okay, sure. I think I did. Didn't I do a lens roundup? I did a lens roundup a while ago, but I can do another one. Sure, why not? we'll add it to the list. Ryan, don't let me forget. Let's do a lens roundup. Talk about some of my favorites. All right, other comments flying by here. Any reason that you don't use any of the Metabone speed boosters? I've never had a need for them. This is from Bryce Peterson. I've never had a need for it, but I am certainly intrigued. Once they get their firmware sorted out for GH5, I do still own some Canon glass, some very nice Canon glass, so I will absolutely be trying them. It's just one of those things that never really, I don't know, it just never came up. But yeah, I will. Once they get the firmware done, I'm not going to mess with it until they have said, this is 100% GH5 compatible. Then I will play with it. I'll get one from B&H, play with it, and then probably end up not returning it because that's how these things usually go. But yeah, I'll check it out. Pardon me. Let's see what else is going on here. Michael says, a first field day with the new GH5 and the Panasonic 12-60 lens is very neat. Everything was indoors. Awesome. Glad to see you're enjoying it. It's a fun kit. This is a really nice package. It really is. Brent says, besides the Panasonic lens, the Voigtlanders are fantastic. Yeah, so if you're going to go all manual, right, Voigtlanders are all manual, right? All manual. I think they even have stepless apertures, so which is great for filmmaking. So if you need to change the aperture while you're shooting, you don't get steps in it. It's a smooth transition. That's one of the other things about that Zhongyi lens that I like so much. It's a stepless aperture. So if you have to change the aperture while you're shooting, you get it without steps, which is really nice. The Voigtlanders are like really high-end film lenses. So there you go. Sully, hello, he's here. Look at that. Good morning. Let's see here. Cameraman says, thank you. This is a cool venue. Well, I think so. Thanks. Someone asked earlier, I saw about NAB. I'm arriving at NAB Monday late morning. I'm leaving here at like 5 a.m. So yeah, Monday late morning, I arrive at NAB. Tuesday morning, 9 a.m., we're doing the meetup. So again, if you are going to NAB and you want to join our little party, 9 a.m. on Tuesday, message me your email address so that I can add you to the list, and I will be emailing out a location as we get closer to there. We are most likely, courtesy of Chris Fenwick, who is here in the chat, going to be doing it at the Courtyard Marriott across the street from the convention center. In the convention, it's going to be way too loud to do anything. He's going to be testing out internet. I will be bringing the camera and the VDU, which I just did a complete reset on, a small test yesterday, and it seemed to be working. So fingers crossed, we're going to do some more tests with it, but we plan to go live from there at 9:30, like usual, but with all of you who are going to be there. That'll be kind of fun. FuseDZN says the speed boosters have been updated for the GH5. Well, that is good to know. And then I guess when I get back from NAB, it's something to play with. I'll probably go visit them at NAB, see what they've got, assuming they're there. Let's see here. Sully says you'll email me later so you can add me to the list. Awesome, Sully. Good, good, good. Fenwick's going to be there, of course, because you and a man who is hosting us in your venue. Sheila says, have any word on what cage folks are liking for the GH5? Yeah, I do actually. You want to keep the hot shoe open, and most cages cover over that. I do. Let me show you something. Let's try not to drop things. So my buddy Sean Mark Nipper, who is often on the show here, messaged me the other day an article about a cage. And I will just pull that up. Let me plug my phone in so I can do it from there, because that's where it is. And it was interesting. So this company, whose name is totally escaped me, but we'll have it up here in a moment. This company apparently did a cage for the GH5, but it covered the hot shoe. And immediately it was reviewed, and they said, well, this is great, except that it covers the hot shoe. And apparently they redesigned the thing in a matter of days. How cool is that? Right, so Sean's, here we go. Here's the article. Get this thing up, go landscape on here, and here we go. So the CAME, C-A-M-E, CAME TV GH5 cage. There's a picture of it with the XLR1 intact, or on board, I should say. I guess the handle is reversible, so it's kind of weird that the handle sticks forward like that, but that's what you got to do to get it out of the way of the thing. There it is, all rigged up with a whole bunch of tools, matte box, mic, dual mics. There you go. Look at that. Onboard ambient mic, the Rode, and then a receiver for a wireless mic on the Rode as well. That's really cool. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I will do at NAB for the live show. I'm going to set up a dual mic system like that. So there you go. CAME TV, C-A-M-E-TV. Yeah, just Google that. You'll find it. I actually reached out to them to ask them if they wanted to send one out for me to look at on the show. Haven't heard back. It's a Chinese company, so you know, who knows what'll happen there, if they'll get back to me or not. But if they do, I'll have it on here and I'll show it to you. But it looks really cool. I think price $298 US, so $300 for the cage. It's not, you know, there are cheaper cages, but it looks pretty good. It looks pretty solid. All right, let's see. How are we on time? It's 10 o'clock. We're going to wrap this thing up. Let me just do a quick little scan through for any other comments, then we're going to get out of here. Phantom 2 Pilots is saying, which lens would you recommend for Milky Way photography? Ooh, I don't know. I don't do astrophotography at all, so I have no experience with that. Sorry. Chris is asking if I've seen the Mevo webcam. Yeah, that's the little webcam that shoots 4K but does a bunch of 720p punch-ins. Really cool idea, but not for me. It's not, you know, I mean, this is no. But it's cool. I think it looks really cool. I saw it first last year at NAB. I'll probably check it out again this year, but it's neat. It's definitely neat. Bryce is saying, I'd love for you to do an episode about the Metamode Speed Booster when you come back if possible. Yeah, I'll get my hands on one, especially if it's now updated for the GH5, then I'll definitely do that. Abhishek Shah says, if sharpness is my only lookout, should I be pairing the GH5 with something like the Panasonic 12-35-28 or get a speed booster with the Sigma Art lens? Well, you can get Sigma Art lenses that are native to the Micro Four Thirds, so there's that. The sharpest lenses are the Leica lenses from the Panasonic lineup. So there's that. Outside of the Panasonic, when you're adding on a speed booster, given that I have no experience with it, I don't know if it has any effect on sharpness. Typically, the more elements you add between the world and your sensor, the more likelihood you're going to have decreased sharpness, right? That's just common sense. The more pieces of glass you have, the more opportunities for degradation of the image. I would think logic would say that adding a speed booster on another lens would degrade the sharpness from that lens. But again, zero experience, so I could be completely wrong there. Maybe it's just amazingly sharp and crisp. Given that I don't have the experience, I can't say how it compares, but I can tell you that from the Panasonic lineup, the Leica lenses are the sharpest. They're the sharpest. And occasionally you get a lens, I mean, all the Panasonic lenses are sharp. Don't get me, they are all sharp. I don't have any issues with any of them, but the Leica one's the sharpest. So there you go. Alrighty, Sheila's saying, thanks, cool, you like that cage, you are quite welcome. It is a cool cage. Cameraman saying, can you say, oh snap, when you end the live feed? No, I can't. Sully saying, anyone else loving the photos? And stop it, I'm gonna do stuff on photos, I promise. Does the Atomos help the autofocus system? Okay, so that was, thanks Steve for bringing that up, no really. So this was what I got so much crap for when I did my autofocus test, because apparently the camera focuses more quickly when it's not actually recording, which means that the HDMI out into the Atomos takes the burden of the recording, so I guess the camera records, autofocuses faster. Apparently, yeah, but if you're doing fast action, you probably aren't going to be running around with this whole setup. I didn't do a side-by-side. It's all over the internet that it is faster, so I guess it is. But there you go. So the short answer should be yes, but I have no experience with it. Alrighty. Cameraman got me to say, oh snap, there you go. Yes, you did, but not at the ending like you were requesting. All right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Hey, thanks as always for tuning in. What is tomorrow? Well, let's bring up tomorrow's show. Tomorrow is a funny little insert show. I buy a lot of crap. I buy all my crap on Amazon. They kind of love me. Let's see here, I'm gonna get the right one loaded up here. I get these emails once in a while from vendors who are saying, hey, we've got this new product. We'd love for you to, not send it to me for free, we'd love for you to buy one and check it out. Here's a 90% discount coupon or something like that. So I got this cheap tripod. It's, where'd it go? Here we go. I got this cheap tripod. This is tomorrow's photo moment. It is, I want to say it was like $40 or $50 retail, and so I paid a lot less than that. So I bought it. I figured, what the heck, we'll take a look at it. So tomorrow is a review of a really cheap tripod. One of the reasons we're going to do that is I'm going to do it out in the other room, and we're going to broadcast from this because I need to give it a real-world test before I take it to Vegas and rely on it. So if tomorrow's show goes to hell in the broadcast, blame these guys, which I have done many, many times before. If it succeeds, then we can say, yay, doing a full factory reset, restore, and starting over on this thing helped. So that's that. All right, guys, let's see here. Oh, Sheila, it's a little self-promo. I'm okay with this. Sheila says you'll be posting a 4K shot on GH4 with Speed Booster on your channel here up on YouTube. Cool. Great. You're welcome to promote it. That is no problem. I got no problem with that. Share the discount codes. No. No, that doesn't work that way. Okay, guys, that's it. I'm out of here. Take care of yourselves. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.